Ladies and gentlemen, before we start our show, we now present to you our dazzling duo of storytellers extraordinaire. Put your hands together and welcome to the stage Aspen and Arian Gashler.
For school, I had to present a report on a species of birds. I chose hawks because they're fierce predators that rise above the competition and swoop down to take what they want. Like me. Furthermore, we live on a mountain, and now and then you can see a hawk circling around the sky. A perfect opportunity for observational science. According to my research, hawks love to eat birds, lizards, mice, and other small animals. In fact, they've even been known to carry away dogs. This got me thinking. My dog, Doggalina, is so heavy, I can't pick her up, and I lift weights. So if a hawk could carry away a big, heavy thing like her, then why not me? As soon as I had this exciting realization, I ran outside and waved my arms. I even saw the hawk, but she wasn't interested. I happen to know that hawks especially love to eat rabbits, so I put in some bunny ears and hopped up and down. That caught her attention. Then I remembered that hawks are also known to carry their prey way up high and drop them to their deaths. This made me slightly nervous, so I did the only logical thing and played dead. Moments later, the hawk swooped down, clutched me in her talons, and whisked me into the sky. It was amazing. But then my bunny ears fell off. Luckily, the hawk didn't notice until we got to her nest on a great big cliff. But she still screeched in her consternation of being duped. I, being well educated in hawkology, screeched back. For those of you who aren't familiar with the hawk language, that means, I'm sorry to have deceived you, but I felt it necessary to conduct a proper interview. I'm doing a report on hawks, you see, and I'd like to ask a few questions. The hawk was flattered. She said that she'd always wanted to be interviewed. She showed me her eggs and her rabbit skulls. I asked if it was true that hawks push their babies out of their nests to teach them how to fly. It is, replied the hawk. Would you like me to do it so you can learn to fly? I don't think that would work, I said, because I don't have wings. Oh, it's not wings that make you fly. It's the hawk diet. Just eat a few bites of this rabbit carcass and you'll be able to fly. I'm pretty sure I need wings to fly. What do you know about flying? I'm a hawk. I decided that the hawk had a point, so I ate some of the rabbit carcass. It was awful. Then I stood at the ends of the nest, and the hawk pushed me off. It was really scary. I flapped my arms. I tried to think happy thoughts, but I just couldn't fly. Luckily, there were some springy trees to pad my fall, though not without some scrapes and bruises. The hawk met me at the bottom. That was an excellent flying, she said. I just fell, I said. Oh, no, you were definitely flying. I'm pretty sure I didn't fly. What do you know about flying? I'm a hawk. I decided that hawks aren't very smart, though in her defense, when she saw my bruise, she felt really bad and offered me a rabbit skull as a get-well gift. I politely declined. Can you take me home now? I asked. So the hawk took me home. Maybe next time we can play at your house. Yeah, I'll keep that in mind. And that's how I got this bruise. Thank you.
Have you ever been blamed for something you didn't do? It happens to me all the time. Like that time my mom walked into my bedroom and it was a huge mess. Toys in all the wrong places, Legos spread across the carpet, clothes just about everywhere. I would never be the cause of such chaos, but adults always jump to ridiculous conclusions. Me, I need evidence. It's a trait of the scientifically minded. So after a thorough investigation, I noticed a little white hair in the cartilage. True, it could have come from the dog, but could one dog make so much mess? I have a more plausible theory. Dwarves. Little men who are small enough to sneak around and wicked enough to frame an innocent little girl. I learned all about them from Grimm's fairy tales. And while you may argue that fairy tales are not scientific, well, if you'd experienced what I had, you'd be a believer too. I mean, the messy room was just a beginning. Was it a coincidence that my things started disappearing, even when I knew I put them away? Or that 1 out of 2 of my toys would end up broken, even when I handled them with tender love and care? I don't think so. These heinous acts were obviously the work of specialists in organized crime. Altogether, I counted at least 11 dwarves out to ruin my life. As I've already mentioned, there's the messer, the hider, and the breaker. One of the more subtle dwarves is the yucker. Now tell me honestly, which seems more likely to you? That vegetables mysteriously taste delicious to adults or disgusting to children? Or that just before a well-meaning child is about to place a piece of broccoli in her mouth, a little man pops up from out of the table and sprinkles yucky powder on it? We try to eat our vegetables, but the little men make it impossible. Then there's the tweaker. He's the guy that makes time speed up when you're having fun and slow down when you're practicing the piano. It's not that we have short attention spans, it's that time is literally expanding. I could go on about all the dwarves who have it in for me, but you get the idea. One night, in a desperate attempt to prove the existence of the little dwarfs, I set up a clever trap. Believe me when I say it was the perfect booby. Marbles on the stairs, swinging paint cans. Nothing could possibly go wrong. Don't ask me how the little men did it, but the next thing I knew, my mom pulled me out of bed. She was covered in paint and had bruises on her head. Since then, I realized, well, I can't do anything but ignore the little men. So whenever piano practice gets unbearably long, I'll just keep on playing. And when my Brussels sprouts taste abominably, I knew I had just to swallow them anyway. There's no point in delaying the inevitable. And the funny thing is, my ignoring them made the little men really mad. I know because one night when I had trouble getting to sleep, I heard them prancing around in my room chanting, "This makes us really mad." And then it happened. I saw them with my very eyes. They were standing on the kitchen table, about to pour a red pitcher of Kool-Aid all over the carpet. What would become the biggest mess they'd ever made. I wanted to scream for my mom, but I knew they'd only hide before she came. So with only a split second to make my decision, I sealed my lips and accepted my fate. Even if the mess wasn't mine, I would do my duty to God and my country and clean it up. Time seemed to slow down as the Kool-Aid fell to the floor, soon to tarnish my hours of hard work. And then the Kool-Aid disappeared. I looked up, but the little men were gone too. They just vanished. And that was that. Since then, I've learned as nice as it is to blame other people for my problems, it's better to take responsibility for my actions. This has been a paid advertisement by the Aggravated Mothers Coalition of Utah.
I needed money for my gymnastics meet. It cost $75. Seriously? How did they expect 8-year-olds to cough up $75? So I set up a lemonade stand. The overhead, lemons and sugar, were already paid for by my parents. So all I had to do was set up the stand and wait for the money to come pouring in. No rent, no business license, no food handler's permit. It was the ultimate get-rich-quick scheme. As I sat there in the sun, knowing it was only a matter of time before thirsty stragglers with padded wallets came begging for my sweet sustenance, I realized there was a hole in my plan. How was I going to manage all of the money I would make? Should I work with an investment banker, or should I store the money in a tightly secured pool so I could swim through it like Scrooge McDuck? As I was deliberating over this mind-blowing quandary, I noticed something even more distressing. Across the street, my arch nemesis, Ella, had also set up a lemonade stand. No doubt that C had been spying on my lucrative operation and was trying to steal my share of the market. To make things worse, Ella was using cutthroat business tactics, selling her lemonade at a measly 75 cents per cup. First, I gave her the glare of death. Then I updated my sign. Premium lemonade, squeezed from 100% organic lemons, handpicked in Nicaragua, plus free foot massages. In response, Ella started giving away prizes with each purchase, such as slightly used My Little Pony coloring books and decapitated Barbie dolls. At least she intended to give them away. Neither of us had actually made a sale yet, but that was beside the point. This was about corporate warfare. So I gave away even better prizes. Chinese finger traps, plastic vampire teeth, and Barbies with their heads still on. Though I regret I couldn't find their clothes. By then, it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and kids were walking home from school. And wouldn't you know it, the cheapskates were more interested in saving a quarter than superior products and free foot massages. As Ella glared at me with satisfaction, I did what I had to. I got up my Slurpee and updated my sign. Free puppies with each purchase. This finally succeeded in turning crowds my way, and the sales started rolling in. Of course, I didn't have actual puppies to give away, but I'm pretty sure you can buy them on Amazon. So I took my customers' names and addresses and promised them free 2-day shipping. The best part was, since my dad set up a one-click checkout, I wouldn't have to pay for a thing. Meanwhile, a desperate Ella tried to steal away my customers by bringing in a live band. Though band was an overstatement. It was really just some hipster college student with a guitar. Regardless, things were getting serious, and I needed a solution now. So I got on my dad's laptop and updated his account from 2-day shipping to instant delivery. Then I ordered a 16-foot stage, 2 monster sacks of speakers, and Mariah Carey. You would think that would settle the competition. But apparently Ella's family also had Amazon Triple Prime, because she brought in a cotton candy machine, an elephant, and the Ringling Brothers. So I brought in the U.S. Navy brass band, the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, and Channel 5 News. In response, Ella brought in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So I brought in an air show featuring F-16 sets. I was about to order some Lamborghinis as giveaways when my dad came home and said it was time for me to clean up and that my friends had to go home. He was kind of upset when he learned about all the things I'd bought. It just reminded him that it was all for my gymnastics meet, part of my physical education. And you can't put a price on education. True, I'd racked up $50 million in debt, but it was money well spent because it taught me this valuable lesson. As the great Homer Simpson put it, if at first you don't succeed, it's probably not worth trying for. Thank you.
One day, I walked into my bedroom to see a statue of George Washington. How did that get there? My mom must have bought it from the Home and Garden store. She's always trying to buy stuff like that. I guess she thinks it'd be a nice addition to our house. The only problem was, our house was a cluttered mess, so we had to keep the statue in my room. And it's not that I hold anything short of reverence for the father of our nation. It's just something about those stony eyes staring at me all night. I may or may not have taken a hammer to it. What was my surprise when the stone crumbled away, revealing the secret within? The reason it looked so lifelike was because it was sculpted around the real George Washington, who was staring right back at me. "How are you still alive?" I asked. "My constituents wanted to preserve me for a future time when I would be needed again," he said. "So they dipped me in carbonite." Oh, I think that happened to Han Solo, too. "Tell me, what is the national crisis that calls for my generalship? Have the British returned?" "No." "Are we at war with France?" "No." "Surely there must be some dire reason to awake me from centuries of slumber." "I'm sorry, it was an accident. Would you like a Twinkie?" "What's it made out of?" I didn't know, so I read the ingredients on the box. Enriched wheat flour, sugar, corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, partially hydrogenated soybean oil, sodium acid pyrophosphate. George bared his wooden teeth. "Americans eat this garbage?" "All the time." "What have we become, a nation of sugar addicts?" I didn't know how to answer that, so we asked Google and learned that 2/3 of Americans are overweight, 1/3 are obese. Diet-induced maladies, including heart disease, diabetes, osteoporosis, are at all-time highs. "I see why I've returned," George said. "I must lead the war against bad eating habits. Are you with me?" I was. The war was really fun. First, we went to the music store and bought a snare drum and bells. I played the drum while George rang the bell, shouting, "Eat your vegetables!" We handed out flyers listing the harmful ingredients in junk food, though not many people were interested. As George became more determined, we picked up some carrots and cucumbers from the grocery store and stuffed them into people's mailboxes. Some people got mad, so we had to run from house to house. But the most exciting part was when we snuck into the Hostess factory and replaced all of the cream filling with asparagus juice. That's when things got ugly. A police officer saw us running away from the scene, and we were put in jail. Still, George held his head high. All night long, he told me stories of fighting at Valley Forge and crossing the Delaware. He was proud of me for serving my country, and I felt really good. The next day, we were put in front of a judge. He didn't know what to do because I was a minor and he was George Washington. So he decided to let us off the hook if George renounced his terrorist allegiances by eating a Twinkie. "Don't do it, George!" I cried. George fought an inner battle, but in the end, he took a bite of the Twinkie, saying, "A Twinkie is a sometimes food." After all that adventure, we decided America wasn't ready for the return of George Washington, so we went to a carbonite specialist who preserved the father of our nation for another 200 years. But before George sank into the lone, steamy pit, he looked up at me and said, "Remember to keep alive that celestial fire inside of you called conscience." "Okay," I said. Later, my mom returned him to the home and garden store. It was hard to say goodbye. Some might call our war a failure, but as for this American, before I indulge in high fructose corn syrup and partially hydrogenated soybean oil, I think of George and listen to my conscience, because I really don't want to end up with wooden teeth.
Give her another round of applause for the Gashler girls. Thanks for coming out tonight, folks. Our main event will start promptly at 7:30.